Right. Mic check, mic check. Happy, happy, happy. Make your move Monday, folks. Make your move Monday, folks. We are back in order. Hopefully, everyone out there had a great weekend. But you already know what we about around here. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Facebook, we here. Facebook, we here. We here. Give me a second. Let me make sure all the platforms are good and we're all ready to go. Let's get into it. Oh, yes, I gotta remember that. I do have to remember that. All right, hold on one second. Let me make sure. Give it a second here. Oh man, jeez. Oh man, jeez. All right, mic check, mic check, mic check. Just testing this out, and we're. Jeez. All right, mic check, mic check, mic check. You know what? All right, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. All right, we're good. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Whatever time of day you're consuming this evergreen material, great to have you here. First and foremost, let me just introduce myself to anybody that's new to this world, new to this channel, new to what I'm all about, new to me. My name is Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current five-time, very soon to be six-time published author and educator. I created this whole brand, this whole framework, this whole mindset, this whole concept, this whole philosophy, this whole way of life. All right, it's a way of life around here, folks. All right, that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a staff and a group of staff and or a group of employees that moves as efficiently as a championship high school or youth football team. That is, in a nutshell, what we do around here. We bring it to you raw, straight, uncut every single day. We have so many great things happening on this channel. Again, make sure you're liking, you're commenting, you're subscribing, you're sharing this out, especially to the folks who are struggling, to those business owners that are struggling with turnover. I have systematized and created a way for you as a business owner to really make it so you do not have the problem of turnover anymore. Well, that's the guarantee. That's the deliverable I will have for you guys. So one of the things that we do around the staple about what we do around here is every single Monday we have something called a Make Your Move Monday kickoff question. It's a Make Your Move Monday kickoff question, just like on the football field. Every game starts with a kickoff. Every week around here starts with something we call a kickoff that's meant to get you in alignment. And today and throughout this entire week, we're going to be discussing one of the most important aspects of being in business, one of the most important aspects of growth, one of the most important aspects of developing as a human being, and it's about starting and having quality conversations. One of my favorite books actually is Hill Harper, The Conversation, and it's so important. He wrote the book. It was sort of like a relationship book, and he wrote the book from the standpoint of he was tired of seeing Black relationships failing. He was sitting back watching. I think the term he used was he's seeing the extermination or the extinction of the Black, the Black family being raised. So he wrote the book just to start having the conversation about how Black men and women can have more meaningful relationships. And when we listen to them, when we hear the term conversation, it is bigger than romantic relationship stuff that, a lot of people will go right to. Conversation is so important to have with whoever it is you need to be having a conversation with. And it's also just important to not have conversations with folks when it comes to what they're doing and what they're all about. And also making sure we're knowing exactly that how how much of a conversation is nonverbal, which is what we're going to be discussing throughout this entire week. So buckle up, stay tuned, because this is what we're diving into throughout this entire week. So before I get to that, before I go too deep into the topic, let me just get through a few announcements here, and then we will jump right into the article as we normally do over here on the Move Swiftly platform. So first and foremost, if you are a business owner and you have yet to get your free guide, I need you to go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That is free, capital FREE, freeguide.makeyourmove.com. We work from a very, very, very simple and easy to understand formula around here. Number one, it's establishing measurables. Number two, it's creating a professional distance. And both of those things, you mix those two things together, and that leads to the productive environment. That is what you want. Measurables, professional distance, and the productive environment that you need to keep your business afloat. Without those two things, without those two things being mixed together, you won't get the result, which is the productive environment. So I create a very easy to understand 10-step process. Be sure you just go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com, and all of that will be sent over to you once you put your information in. Next thing, the boxing lessons have officially opened up, and we're back. All right, we are back. West Palm Beach, I cannot tell you how excited I am to be back in business when it comes to the boxing lessons. I took it, and we're going to be talking about that in a second throughout the article, but we took a huge step in that direction for the past 2 weeks. I linked up with the gym out here named Palm Beach Boxing. So what you see there is the free boxing lessons. If you're interested in the free ones, be sure to contact me. Let me know that you're interested in coming in every 2 weeks. I teach free ones at a park on Saturday, but I have opened them up throughout the week as well. So if you're interested in doing that, make sure you get in contact with me. That is freeboxing.makeyourmove.com, and that's specifically for the folks who are out here in West Palm Beach. And if you, my favorite, well, I didn't say favorite, but my kind of people, I'll say it, my favorite kind of people, the folks who are like, look, bump the free stuff. I want you to tell me what I need to be paying for right now, because I love your concept. I love your brand. I love what it is you're doing. And I want you to teach my employees on how to develop this wintrepreneur mindset that I've developed. That's great. Love you guys. Like I said, you guys are my favorite kind of folks. All right. Makeyourmove.com. No free stuff. Just go to shop. You'll see where you can get an employee development workshop. We could talk about a payment plan and how you can get it paid for, take care of, and all that kind of stuff. And do whatever research you need to research on me is right here on makeyourmove.com. Again, just simply hit the Innovative Teamwork button or the Move Swiftly Speaker button. Turn your business into a championship team. It is common knowledge that the best way to win in business or in life is by avoiding ways to lose. Whether you've just started a new business or you've been in business for quite some time, there's no getting around the need to hire or outsource certain elements of your organization so things can run as efficiently as possible. When you book your meeting with Aswan, he'll diagnose what the issues are with your current system and then strategically create a system in which will lead to a reduced amount of turnover or a clear understanding of the parts of your business that need to be outsourced. So that is what we do over here in the Move Swiftly platform, on the Move Swiftly platform. So, all right, now, as far as today, Make Your Move Monday, how would you start a conversation? All right, like I had sort of alluded to in the beginning in the intro, so much of having a conversation is nonverbal. All right. Developing your ability, developing your awareness, developing a sense of self to understand conversations are again, a high percentage of them, a high percentage of starting a great conversation, or having a great conversation, having a quality conversation. It's going to come from the nonverbal cues. So the nonverbal cues, which means there needs to be a level of inherent confidence that goes into that is inside of you as you go out into the world and you run into the people that can potentially change your life. One of my favorite books is Lou Holtz, Winning Every Day. He closed that book. It was an incredible read, motivational, didn't really have much structure to it, just was a bunch of stories, just motivational stories throughout this entire book. All right. And he ended that book by saying the the difference between where you are now and where you're going to be 5 years from now are the books you read and the people you meet. All right. More specifically, the people you meet, because with the people, when it comes to the people that you meet, there's a inner glow. There's an inner confidence that you must exude if you're going to get the most out of the people that you meet, and that is key. So as we start off and we kick this thing off today, we're going right into it. All right, Make Your Move Monday. How would you start a conversation? So let's dive deep into the article. First of all, I got to talk to you about this. Got to talk to you about this because we are inching. We are getting closer and closer to the point where you can feel it, you can smell it. It's like, what's that I feel? What is that I feel? Is that a new college football season coming back? Is that what I feel in my bones? Right? And not only is there a new college football season coming back, but your one and only Move Swiftly speaker has found a location where I can break down the game of football. We could watch sports. So understand, all of last year, I spent every Saturday at Duffy's. At one of the Duffy's is a sports bar and grill out here in South Florida. I spent at Duffy's stacking up my points, watching the game, having conversations with total strangers, and just breaking it all down. Again, I'm a Michigan fan, so it was a rough one. It was a rough one for us. But aside from that Ohio State game, which I did watch that one at Duffy's as well. But aside from that, it was a rough year. So it wasn't easy. They have a Michigan alum, like a Michigan watch party at a Duffy's in Boynton. So I would go to that too and stuff like that. So Duffy's is my spot. And because of conversations, I found a location at a Duffy's to host my own college football show as we break it down, as you guys see me doing on a normal basis on Film Session Saturday and stuff like that. So I had to bring that up, and I had to talk about that in regards to the image today, because that's actually what led me in to the topic of what we're going to be discussing all week. So here we go, right into the article. For any podcast listeners, I'm reading directly from the article right now. All right. So back to another Make Your Move Monday on the Move Swift plus LY sports marketing platform. If you are new here, let me catch you up. Every Monday, we kick off the week with a powerful, thought-provoking question, that gives you clarity as a business owner, leader, or team builder, and helps you generate real results for yourself and your staff. This week's kickoff question is one that touches the foundation of all business growth and relationship building. How would you start a conversation? Before I give you my answer, let's add some context. Communication is more than words. Most people assume that starting a conversation begins with what you say, but seasoned communicators know it often begins long before words are spoken. In fact, according to the research, a high percentage of communication is nonverbal, and that was exactly the case for me this week. I walked into church wearing my signature plus LY logo, 3-colored pencil, red, blue, and yellow, representing the 3 primary colors. The message: you can create anything you want in life. In fact, let me make sure all right, so as you're looking, you see this plus LY right here. In fact, I can go right up. So this plus LY, this logo that you are always seeing me around wearing, the plus LY logo and all that kind of stuff, that's what it means. So the Move Swiftly, it's skilled. The Move Swiftly is an acronym, right? So skilled, well-informed front team. All right, everyone's in the category. Plus LY means to lift yourself, meaning if you're going to be a skill guy, you got to learn what the well-informed people have. The well-informed people got to learn what the front team people have. Front team people, well-informed, skilled, merging all of that. Doing that process in itself means you are lifting yourself. So are you lifting yourself every day? And all 3 pencils are in the primary colors, so you can mix whatever color you want based on the way you lift yourself. So that is why you're always seeing me that's why you're always seeing with the pencils and stuff like that. I don't personally explain that enough for any newcomer. So that's where the plus LY logo has come from, right? Now, here's what happened. Here's what actually happened. I went to church. I was in Church by the Glades. This was the first time I went on a solo church trip. My girl was she was with family. Yeah, she had family in town. So I went to church like at the later service, something I don't normally do, but I went there alone wearing my plus LY stuff. and a woman who was volunteering at the service, she looked at my shirt and asked me the question I get all the time: do you work for a preschool? Every time people say, like, the majority of people, and this is what I mean, I'm explaining this to you because so much of the communication is nonverbal, and so much of how we start conversations is through a nonverbal thing, right? A lot of the times where I'll wear that Plus LY logo and people will just see me out in the street or out doing whatever, they're always asking, "Oh man, is that you work? What preschool is that? Do you work for a preschool? Is that some sort of?" Because I noticed the Plus LY, right? In fact, just last week when I went, so shout out to Coach Al. I still got to reach out, still got to reach back out to circle back with Coach Al. But he runs a sports for autism program, and I went there. It was me, my girl, and we were there, supporting what he did. And I was volunteering, so I called him before, and I guess I must have sent him some information on me or whatever, but I was wearing the Plus LY logo, and immediately he saw it and he connected the dots. He goes, yeah, I remember seeing that. So again, non-verbal communication, it starts with what you're wearing, the kinds of things that you are putting on, like the kind of appearance that you have and all that kind of stuff. All of that leads to conversation. And this was, again, a non-verbal thing. So I'm going back to the article directly, folks. So I got the question, okay, do you work for a preschool? My response was, yes, I actually do, because I actually do. I do teach at a charter school, the Center for Creative Education, that is K-5. But this logo, this Plus LY logo, is my business. Then I point them to makeitmove.com, which is what I just did to you. And again, you see the Plus LY logo all the time. You see me wearing it. You guys can go get a copy of the Wintrepreneur tees. It's available for sale and all that kind of stuff, right? Boom, a conversation, a connect. Going back to the article, podcast listeners. Boom, a conversation, a connection, and a seed planted. That's the power of this authenticity and presence. Understand, I paid maybe, I think the number was like $7 for that, those pencils. And then I was the one personally added the Plus LY to the pencils that I had already paid from whatever website. Again, I put in the money. So it was already authentic to me, because when I first saw it, I said, that's what I want it looking like. That's it right there. That's the power of having some vision. That's the power of understanding your business is so much deeper and goes so much further than whatever logo it is. However, the logo is important because it is exactly what's going to get the conversation started and things of that nature, right? So here we go. Conversations that shifted my week. Now we're going back. And again, if you're new around here, understand you are listening and speaking to someone who is always thinking about 10, 15 days in advance, to the point where this article was written about a week ago as I was prepping. And then next week's theme is already ready to go and stuff like that. Again, this is how we operate here. We're always in the proactive thinking mode. We're always about what's next and making sure we have things ready for what's going to come up. All right. So as that that happened, so I went to the service on Sunday. It was a 6 p.m. service. I went. And then this past week, I gained 2 new powerful connections, both sparked from simple, authentic conversations, right? We already talked about both of them, but let me read them directly for you so you understand exactly the details of how these things came about, right? Number 1, Palm Beach Boxing. I walked into the gym hoping to rent space for existing boxing clients. Through a genuine conversation with the staff, I discovered they were in need of a new trainer. Now I'm there nearly every other day preparing to lead my own boxing classes. Number 2, Duffy Sports Grill, Palm Beach Gardens. I met up with a former podcast guest, Mark Messiah, calling a mess. And as we caught up, I mentioned one of my short-term goals is doing the college football play-by-play commentary. He had the right connections. And before we finished our meal, we had the wheels turning for a live college football show at that very Duffy's. Now follow the channel here. If you go to the channel, you'll see, again, film session Saturday and all of ever since the beginning, right? You see 5 months ago, that's when I actually started the channel, when the national championship game happened this past year, right? So let me stay there for a second. Because in both of those conversations, there was already things that were working within me, right? When it comes to the boxing lessons, I walked in there expecting to, pay rent in the place as I was bringing more people in and bringing more people in, bringing more people. So there was already a core understanding that, hey, I have these people that I'm training every 2 weeks or so at the park that are constantly registering, and I'm working with my church to, provide a free service every 2 weeks. And it has gotten to the point now where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost approaching a year of doing this free service. It would be great what actually did happen was there was a Saturday morning where I plan to do the boxing training, and it's right there in Wellington Park, and it just started raining that morning. So I got to thinking about, it would be great if I actually had a facility in case it rained. So I drive by this Palm Beach boxing gym every single day. It is literally like right up the street from the school I teach at right now. And I never thought to go in there, but as soon as I had a conversation with the folks that I was working with and I was training, I was like, you know what, I owe them a facility to work out of and all that kind of stuff. And then walk in there and boom, opportunity starts happening, because as I'm chatting with the front desk person, she introduces me to the owner of the gym, and then the owner of the gym, she recognizes my personality and recognizes what I'm all about, and then offers me an opportunity to just come and work with the certain classes. And now I've been going in there again, not being charged at all, to go take the classes as I'm developing and I'm getting better. And it's really, really important that you develop the skill of having conversations, because as good as I am as a boxing trainer, there's so much I'm not as good at. There's so much I needed to learn. There's so much I'm picking up every time I go. In fact, I'm going to class tonight. But there's so much I'm picking up from the other folks who have done it before, and I'm able to incorporate that into my own system and my own brand and make it so I'm constantly getting better. That's what it's all about. All right. So that's number one. That's a big one right there, because that right there, it's a skill that I developed, spent 4 years really developing when I was a trainer at 9 Round. And that's what got me into the education business. What got me into the education business was somebody seeing me online training kids in boxing. And they said, hey, this would be the perfect guy to come into this learning center and create an environment so we can offer something new. That is how it happened. It is not happening because of some teacher certification or because something that I actually intentionally went out and did. No, intentionally went out and did in regards to getting into the school system. I was intentionally actually training kids at the park. But when you actually put yourself out there, you create opportunities for yourself without even knowing it, which again leads me to the Duffy's Sports Bar and Grill conversation. When I met Mark a year ago, we were total strangers, man. Absolutely total strangers. And you guys can go listen to the entire show. You can listen to, let me see if it is. Yes, right. You can listen to this entire show right here. It's right here.
Let me guess.
It is right here. Heartfelt Officiating. All right. You can go listen to it if you would like. But I explained it to you. I explained it right there on the show, and you can hear it. I didn't know him. I just happened to be sitting next to the guy, and we're watching the game because there was the Florida Panthers. It was around the time that the Florida Panthers had won their first championship, and it just so happened that he was a former NHL ref, and I was going there. I believe I went there to watch the finals. I went there to watch the NBA finals and ended up chatting with him, and then boom, it turned into something amazing, right? That again, even a year later, it creates opportunities. This is the value of having conversation, folks. This is the value. All right. So let's get back into the article. So how would you start a conversation? Here's my answer. Now, for podcast listeners, going directly to the article, and for listeners that are listening to me right here live, direct on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, here is my answer to the question. So what I do is I create a question, and then I explain to you the context and the background and the backstory behind why that question is and why it's the theme, and then I answer the question myself. All right, here is the answer to the question. Start with authenticity, whether verbal. Ooh, need that water. All right. Whether verbal or nonverbal, lead with who you really are. When you do that, the right people will notice. You won't need to waste time with folks who don't align with your vision. You'll attract those who want to grow with you. And that's exactly what we'll be diving deeper into tomorrow for Top 5 Tuesday, exploring the best ways to spark conversations that lead to meaningful progress. All right. So as I close you out, I want to break down exactly what I said in those sentences. All right. So whether verbal or nonverbal, lead with who you really are. When you do that, the right people will notice. Hear me on this point. All right. There's a distinction. There is something you need to do inside your own heart and inside your own mind, inside of what you're all about, to really understand who the right person is to have a conversation with. I want to make sure I'm letting that sit for a little bit. Ask yourself a follow-up question now. Who is the right person to be having the conversation with? And I'll give you an example. Clear example, something I learned myself directly as I got into the intellectual property game, as I got into the public speaking game and what it's all about. The person that will benefit the most based on what I do is not the same person that I need to be having conversations with every day. Is that understood? So the person who benefits the most, all right, the individuals who benefit the most based on the services that I offer are a group of employees, all right, a group of employees that have come to my workshops, come to my employee development workshops. They've learned exactly what it means to move swiftly. I've walked them through the entire acronym. They're having a conversation with somebody that they don't particularly like or particularly vibe with, yet they respect each other enough and respect each other's professional space enough to say, hey, look, if this is what we got to do to keep our position or to excel in our position and make it so our business move forward, we're going to help each other add our plus LY and stuff like that. Okay, that group of employees that I will be teaching how to move swiftly, those are not the people I need to be having conversations with every day. People I need to be having conversations with every day are the folks that are paying to bring me into the organization. Those are two completely different people. All right. The person that's paying to get that, like my avatar, the person that's paying to bring me into that room is back and forth on whether they should is in a situation now where if they don't get their team correct, if they don't get their staff correct, if they don't get their staff in alignment, then they will lose their business. So the pressure on that person is a completely different setup, is a different kind of energy, different kind of authenticity. No, not say different authenticity, but a different level of conversation that I will be having with the person who's going to pay to have me in there versus the person who's there to learn from what it is I'm teaching. All right. So right there, the right people will notice when I walk around with the authenticity that I have and I put the material out that I have and all the stuff that I do. I have to have the understanding that it needs to be attracting the right person, the person who's genuinely losing and failing in business because they keep dealing with turnover. All right. You won't waste time. You don't need to waste time with folks who don't align with your vision. That is a key here, because when you get into business, it is really difficult because you want to tell everybody. Hopefully, again, you love what you do so much that you want to tell everybody, or whether it's a new job, whatever it is, you want to tell everybody what it is you do and what it is you're all about, which is exactly the way it should be. All right. But again, when you have this discernment, when you use your discernment to say, who's the person I need to be having a conversation with, and who's the person that's going to be benefiting on what I do. You attract that person, and then you move yourself away from the person who you don't need to be working with. Okay. So use your discernment in that regard. And then from that, you attract those who want to grow with you. And that those come in all forms, in all walks of life. That come in, your friendships, in your romantic relations, whatever it is, it's going to come out based on how you go about differentiating yourself amongst other people, how you separate yourself from the masses, the uniqueness that you walk around with, the type of things that you talk about, the way you are constantly interacting. Just like I was telling you when I was at church last week and they see this brand new logo that they've never seen. Okay, that implores someone to ask a question about it, because maybe she has some kids that she's sending to preschool and what this is about, and how all of this stuff starts happening. But it starts on the inside. It starts on the inner core. It starts with who you attract into your world. There's a reason. There's a very clear reason why you only see me going live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook Business, because these are the places that I know my ideal avatar hangs out. The person that's going to actually pay me to come to their organization. And not scrolling on Twitter. Not scrolling. Yeah, they may have an account, but the real financial decisions of the $15,000 plus package that I'm offering for my employee development workshop, those folks need, the folks that are willing to make that kind of investment, they need a structure. They need the consistency that I bring. They need the frequent quality content that I bring, and they do it on the right platforms. You're not just going to find them. That has to have, and that's where, again, my operation and my system stems from. This is years and years of me really working on a system and having the conversations, great conversations with the wrong people, for me to actually come on and teach you and tell you, hey, having the conversation with the right person is going to make a world of difference. But it starts from within, folks. It starts from within. It starts from directing, and it starts from being incredibly, incredibly intentional with who you give your time to, who you tell your dreams to, who you put your goals out there to, and who you actually let on your platform. Take it from me. I've been there, lived it, done it, seen it, felt it. All right. So just to recap, I know I went on a mini tangent there, but I could talk about this stuff for hours upon hours upon hours. I have personally decided, I think I was last couple of weeks, I've decided that, hey, I'm cutting myself off at the 35-minute mark, and that's where I'll cut it off. So just to recap, as we get to as we're now at 33 minutes, just to recap, the Make Your Move Monday, back for another Make Your Move Monday kickoff question, which is, how would you start a conversation? All of this is stemming from the fact that I was wearing my Plus LY logo at church, and somebody asked me, hey, do you work for a preschool? And it's a common question I get whenever people see that Plus LY logo on my chest or with whatever merch I'm wearing. And that, led into a conversation that led into this article, that led into the entire theme for the week. What happened last week was, again, got a good solid connection. I had a great conversation with Palm Beach Boxing, to the point where I now have an alignment, and I'm working with them to do a lot of great things for the students that I teach at here at the Center for Creative Education. Especially, and not even that, as we start a new school year, I'm now the actual sport and fitness director. I'll dive deeper into all of that in next week. I'll be talking about that next week, actually, when we talk about merit-based roles and how you can develop a merit-based role. So I won't step on those points. Just know it's coming. It's coming. We're going to be talking merit-based roles in regards to that. But again, a lot of it started from conversation. The Duffy Sports Bar and Grill college football show, where, again, I've already started having conversations with people that will be at Duffy's and talking college football and all the things that I'm all about, things of that nature. And the way I answer the question is authenticity. Be as authentic as humanly possible in order for you to develop as a great individual, develop a strategy towards having quality conversations with the right person. Hear me, okay? Hear me on that last point. Quality conversations with the right people, so you do not get kind of twisted up in the wind with talking to the wrong people, and ultimately you end up in a situation that you don't want to be in. So all that being said, again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I'm doing and what we do over here and how I can, again, incorporate this system in your business. And you need it more than you will ever know nowadays with AI and all the stuff that's going on. The website is makeyourmove.com. That is MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.